Welcome to Not Suitable for Democracy. I'm your host, Nick, and today we're talking about a range of topics starting in Texas with the latest redistricting plan that actually passed, then going to California to see what Gavin Newsom is up to with his redistricting plan and his latest tweets. Then bringing it right back home to New York City, where we talk about the mayoral election. Remember, November 4th, 2025, don't forget to vote, and seeing the latest fundraising numbers, Eric Adams' latest scandal, and what Zohran Mamdani is doing to keep the race very interesting. So we're going to talk about what's not suitable for democracy right now. Starting with Texas, we know that the Texas State House Republicans finally passed their new congressional maps, right? Basically sending 5 more Republican representatives to Congress. Out of the 435 House of Representatives, 38 of them are allotted for the state of Texas. So 25 Republican seats and 13 Democratic seats. Unfortunately, with this new legislation that has passed with the new congressional maps, there are now 30 Republican congressional seats and only 8 Democratic congressional seats from the state of Texas going to Washington, D.C. So this is just not good for democracy, absolutely not suitable. Why? Okay, so number one, this is not suitable because we know that this dilutes the democratic voice of voters at the ballot box. So even though there are huge democratic pockets in the state of Texas, you got big blue cities like Austin or Dallas, right? Or even Houston. But now we know that the big blue cities don't have as much power, number one. Number two, this actually is not good for democracy because it destroys the allocation of resources to each of these democratically held districts. So now that we know if there's less democratically held districts, then issues concerning Democrats are going to be deprioritized, not only at the state level, but at the congressional level. So what's happening in Congress, right? For instance, between Doge cuts, the big beautiful bill, we know these were 2 different ways that the federal government reallocated resources to not only government programs across the country, but also how it impacted programs within each state. So now that we know Republicans have more representation in the House of Representatives, this is going to prioritize Republican issues and concerns. Well, that may be great for the Republican Party, but we also know who is benefiting from the Republican Party, like the oil and gas lobby, tech billionaires, right? The oligarchs. So it's really this whole, systemic issue now that gives not only Republicans more voting power, but it also elevates the more top-level priorities that aren't coming from the voters, but coming from the corporate class. So the fact that now we have to deal with, powerful Republicans and what they want, right? Now they know they have extra votes thanks to the new legislation passed by Texas State House Republicans. So you can see how even at a lower level, this is now benefiting the upper echelon of our society systemically because now it's built into the system. The point is, it's not suitable for democracy, but hopefully if you're watching this video, you think about how you can tell a friend, tell your neighbors, talk to them about these issues so they really understand how it's all interconnected and it's not a left or right issue, right? Yes, Republicans are driving this redistricting battle, but it is a top-down, just like I explained. More seats were given by the State House to congressional federal level Republicans to carry out the agenda of the upper echelon of society, the billionaires, oligarchs, lobbyists, corporate lobbyists, whoever. I hate it. I hope you do too. And the only thing that gets me through this is that I know there's people like you out there who are going to watch this, take it in, understand, and you know what? Listen, I'm going to have more videos like this. Make sure to subscribe to Not Suitable for Democracy on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, right? Make sure to follow on Instagram. And this will be the best way, right, at NSFD_pod. And this will be the best way to stay informed, stay in touch, right? Connect. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out. I'll do my best to respond and answer thoroughly. But that being said, this is where the conversation starts. So that's what's going on in Texas. Fast forward to California, going westward, everybody, okay? So Gavin Newsom, people have a lot of thoughts about Gavin Newsom, right? But he did try something new related to redistricting. So, two things here. The first thing that I want to applaud Gavin Newsom on is that he is taking Trump head on with the redistricting battle. So, if Texas was going to take away 5 Democratic seats, well, Gavin Newsom, the governor of the deep blue state of California, which has the most, it's the most populous state, not only in the country, but also the most populous in terms of Democratic voters. Okay? So, with that said, Gavin Newsom used this to an advantage and is now saying the state of California will redraw their congressional maps to add 5 more Democratic seats, congressional seats, to counter what they're doing in Texas. So, whether you approve it or not, I know one guy who approves it. I'm going to say this guy true, but more importantly, former President Barack Obama. He actually came out and announced that he thinks that is actually a responsible approach. Those were Obama's words. And I do agree with him. It is absolutely a responsible approach because we are not living in the 20th century anymore. This new cutthroat political power grab type of behavior that we've seen Trump do, not only in his first term with his like huge like swaths of demands and coming in very boisterous and bold, right? Trump is still doubling down on that and getting even worse with some of the moves he's making and not only what he's saying and what he's doing. So to see California counter this with another bold move, I don't like gerrymandering. We shouldn't have it. But this is one of those cases where, like, if they're going to mess with the maps, well, then you might as well balance the map so we have some semblance of even representation because we can't just be having a Republican majority country when we know Republicans are literally the least populous. If you look at voter registration across the country, we know that there are fewer Republican registered voters than Democratic registered voters. Gavin Newsom, I give him a lot of credit for this countering Trump's power grab with his own power move, which is good. We need that because it's finally a semblance of hope seeing that some Democrats are willing to fight back. Now, I'm not saying Gavin Newsom is a savior, right? Like, he's not there to save us, but he is willing to fight for us, and that is good. Okay, so the second thing out of all this I want to mention is that Gavin Newsom isn't just, having these press conferences and talking about, redistricting. He's also, like, on top of doing all that, he actually released a pretty good political ad, like kind of really doubling down on why it's important to counter Trump's actions. He made the redistricting battle all about Trump, which I think is a good move, right? We know that liberals and just people outside the political fray understand, like, Trump is bad. Now, we know Democrats fall into the trap of, like, Trump is bad and that's it. But in this case, it's pretty clear, like, yes, Trump is bad, redistricting bad, taking away Democratic seats bad. So saying we will counter that with more seats, we will restore balance, we will try to even the playing field. Like, that is good. So I'm hoping that ad comes across to California voters because the difference between Texas and California, Texas just had to write legislation and get it passed, which will eventually be signed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Whereas in California, they need to vote on it. They need to have a ballot initiative. So on November 4th, 2025, the voters of California will have to vote on that at the polls. November 4th, 2025, make sure you vote for the ballot initiative. Vote yes. So that's going to be very important for Californians to do. So Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are going to have a few months to really make the argument, like, y'all better get out and vote. Latest polling shows, I think, 46 to 48% of all voters in California support the redistricting plan, which is good. However, there are still like a good chunk undecided, and you need 50% to pass. So if there's only 46% saying they'd probably vote for it, not great. We're going to need everyone to get out and vote. But the other part of that, too, is the fact that there are out of likely voters, like what we call triple prime, like there's 3 times you voted in a primary, those voters will absolutely support the plan. 55% of likely voters, especially Democratic voters, will be supporting the redistricting plan. So we know that there is support among likely voters, which is great. But to be fair, because the overall is at 46, it's probably going to win by a small margin. Like if the vote were held tomorrow, like it would pass, but not by much. So that's why we need to get the word out, talk about it. Again, make sure you tell your friends and family about this stuff because it is important. Again, so even if it means giving more Democratic resources, right, with more Democratic reps to California, we also know having 5 more reps that are Democratic in Congress will help prioritize Democratic values, concerns, issues, right? Not just at California, but around the country. So we can have these conversations about allocating resources to different agencies, programs, and states. So again, very important. We balance the map. I'm going to say that. If Texas is taking away 5 Democrats, then California better add 5. And when push comes to shove, I better see the state of New York adding 5 more Democratic seats, or at least a few more Democratic seats, because we are a blue state. So our representation should reflect that. Anywho, so Gavin Newsom, he's doing the political ads, he's doing the press conferences, but most importantly, he's trolling Trump. I want to show you some tweets that Gavin Newsom has put out there in the world from his press office, and it's actually pretty exciting. So you'll see on the screen, this is a tweet from Gavin Newsom, or technically I guess his press office, but you'll notice that the key here is that Gavin Newsom has taken the unorthodox approach to troll Trump. And in doing so, you'll notice he's using all caps in his tweets, just like Trump. He's using a very bombastic tone of voice, just like Trump. And also within the message, he's been sending several of these tweets lately. And the tweets are, framing Gavin Newsom as the all great, mighty, and powerful, even handsome in some of the tweets. And then everyone else either has a funny, demeaning nickname, or everyone else is bad. And he's really nudging Trump to say how bad he is. Which, to be fair, when Trump calls Gavin Newsom Gavin Newsgum, right, calling him scum, very petty and immature, especially for the president of the United States. But here we are. So it's great to see Gavin Newsom is pushing back on that, using Trump's own words against him, quite literally sometimes. At the end of his tweets, he'll even say "Thank you for your attention to this matter," and it's Trump says that every now and then, and it sounds really weird because why are you talking like that? You don't normally talk like that. But then Gavin Newsom doing it's he's really ribbing Trump with his colloquialism, let's say. But with that said, I think it's great. We need more of this, right? However, not saying it's bad, but it almost kills me where it's why did Democrats wait 10 years before they started to do this, right? Why is this one of the first times we're seeing a, elected official and a very prominent national figure troll Trump on this kind of level? Would have been great to have this years ago, right? We had to go through Trump as president once, and then Trump just trolling Biden for 4 years, and now Trump is president again. So maybe this is the strategy. Now, granted, we know tweets are not going to get you into the White House, but if it means shining a light on Trump's hypocrisy, using his own words against him, fighting back, inspiring maybe a little bit of hope. That's a little bit of hope. I'll take it because right now we've got crumbs, and I hate begging for crumbs, but when the Democratic Party is polling at 19 to 26%, it's do something. So I give Gavin Newsom a lot of credit for that. So, bringing it back to New York City. So, what I love about New York City is the fact that we are about to elect our very first socialist, progressive, Muslim, immigrant mayor, something that New York City has not done with all those adjectives combined, ever in the history of the city. So this is definitely really showing that we are evolving as a culture, as a society, and we are moving forward. This is a great model for the nation to show that not only can we elect progressive leadership, but more importantly, that the issues that are top of mind for voters, the candidate in the lead is clearly running to reflect that, meet those needs, and also share really great policy ideas that can transform New York City as we know it and live it today. Lo and behold, fundraising for the general election has begun, and the numbers are out. So, first up, I'll put some numbers on the screen. First up, let's start with last place. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate for New York City mayor. He had raised in the first period for the general election $407,332. Waste of money for everyone who donated to him. I don't have the numbers of those who donated to him, but lo and behold, it was $400K. So in third place is the current mayor of New York City, who is not running on the Democratic ballot line. He's running on his own independent ballot line. And Eric Adams has raised $425,181. Okay. His average donation comes in at $770. So, that's pretty pricey. So, if anyone had $770 lying around, they wrote a check to Mayor Adams. It's a good chunk of change for some guy who's not going to win, but all right, good for you, I guess. And that was about approximately across 553 donors. All right, so second place guy, Cuomo. He's also not running on the Democratic party line. He's on his own independent party line. He has raised $541,301. His average donation was $646, so about $130 less than Eric Adams. So it looks like Eric Adams has the highest ticket price. Okay, so the wealthier, maybe, people are writing Adams checks. Whereas Cuomo, $646, still very high. There's a lot I would love to do with $646, but I'm not giving a dime to Cuomo. No to Cuomo. And then that comes from about 838 donations or donors. So those 838 people want an investment, return on their investment. Good luck with that. All right. Anyway, number one over here is Zohran Mamdani. Guess how much he raised? Was it more than 400,000? You betcha. Was it more than 500,000? You betcha. But you know what? Lo and behold, Zohran Mamdani doubled what former Governor Cuomo had actually raised during the same period. Zohran had raised $1,051,200. So great to see that he has nearly doubled what former Governor Cuomo had raised in the same time frame. So all these folks that hate on Mamdani, put your money where your mouth is, because Mamdani just made bank. Okay, good for him. And you know what the average donation was? $121. So far, far less than what Cuomo or Adams donors are giving them. And you know how many donors donated to Zohran Mamdani? 8,688. Okay? That is 10 times the number of donors that gave to Cuomo. Congratulations, Zohran. He's doing so well. Eric Adams, going to switch gears for a second on him. So Eric Adams, current mayor, who thinks he's all that in a bag of potato chips, is his latest scandal. Can you believe that? Well, guess what? The latest Eric Adams scandal involves a bag of potato chips. I am not kidding. This is not a joke. This is real life. So just this week, one of Adams' former advisors, someone who used to work in his administration, her name is Winnie Greco. Okay, so Winnie Greco over here is at a campaign event with Adams, and there are reporters, right? And it's in some Whole Foods, I think. So basically, Adams is doing his thing, he's campaigning, and Winnie Greco gets a bag of potato chips. If anyone's wondering, it's the green bag of Hare's potato chips, sour cream and onion. So sour cream and onion potato chips. She hands the bag to one of the reporters. Now, for those of you who don't know, so I Follow the City, which is the name of an independent journalism publication that they have an email list you can sign up for. They got their own website, right? They do really important work. So they're, if you can support them in any way possible, I highly recommend it. They're called The City. And as you guessed it, they talk all about New York City and local politics and things that are happening all around the city. It's really great. So I can go on and on, but point being is this independent publication was where the journalist, Katie Honan, I appreciate her work, Katie Honan was the independent journalist, who received the bag of potato chips from Winnie Greco. So Winnie Greco's the story goes, okay, she talks about this. She's basically Winnie Greco is shoving a bag of chips in her face, and she's like, no, I'm good. I don't want any chips. I'm fine. but she kept doing it. So it's like, if you keep pushing, it's like, well, why are you so desperate to give me a bag of potato chips? I don't want the chips. Like, I'm done with that. Like, she's not like she was like watching her figure or anything, but just like, she didn't want the chips, right? I'm not hungry. So lo and behold, Winnie Greco is like, for you, goodbye. And then Katie Honan takes the bag. She's like, okay. But then she looks in the bag and there's a stack of cash. Apparently there's one $100 bill and a bunch of 20s. Okay, so not really like that much money, but still, it's like, listen, if you're going to do a bribe, do it right. Like, one $100 bill, like, girl, in this economy, like, there's an affordability crisis going on. That's the exact reason why Zohran's running. So if you're going to put some money in a bag, better be some good money, right? Let's start with that. Okay, not saying you should take a bribe, but like, Winnie Greco doesn't get it. Okay, number 2. Hare's sour cream and onion, not my favorite. I've never had it. Ugh, gross, disgusting, not my thing. Bad breath. Ugh, thanks, but no thanks. So why would you offer someone a bag of like crappy potato chips? Like, no one's going to take a bite, right? Third, the fact that, you know, she tried to be stealthy about it, like, oh, here's the chips. And she was so aggressive about it. It's like, no, why? Let alone like you're giving it to a reporter, an independent journalist, someone who has no incentive to accept any bribe from you. That's the reason why they're independent, is because they're not favoring any candidate, right? That is how you are nonpartisan, not political, and just doing your job as an independent journalist. So kudos to Katie Honan for having some ethics at a time when the Adams administration has no ethics. So very happy that she actually lives up to those. So once Katie Honan got that bag, she's like, okay, I can't do anything with this. But as a good reporter, she took it back to the city publication, back to the office. They called the investigative authorities and being like, hey, I got this bag of potato chips from Eric Adams' advisor. There's money in it. Like, I'm not taking this, but y'all should know about it. Because that's what a good reporter does, or any good human being does. You're not going to take bribes from the current administration. So lo and behold, she got Winnie Greco. She got nailed. Bad news bears for her. And her lawyer responded saying, oh, this was a cultural thing, and she didn't know how bad of what she was really doing. No. I'm sorry. Like, maybe this sounds like a little off color, but like, it doesn't matter what culture you're from. A bribe is a bribe. Bribe is the same in every culture, I think. So it's like, maybe you shouldn't do it in the first place because you're obviously up to no good. So the fact that she really thought she can get away with it, like, oh, I'm sorry, my culture does things differently. It's like, no, bribing isn't a culture thing, right? It is just like a bad moral, is a no ethics thing. Like, that's what that is. So, yeah, and mind you, so Winnie Greco, here's the tea on her. Like I mentioned, she used to be part of the administration. She actually was a part of the administration up until the FBI raided 2 of her properties from the straw donation scandal that Adams was involved in earlier this year. So just the fact that she's already on the FBI's radar, right? Like, fine, she could have been innocent because maybe like she didn't really know, whatever. Like, if you really want to stretch it that much, but we all know she knows. We knew she knows, right? Now, with the bribe, you're like, it's so clearly obvious this person has no morals, no character, and like a bad taste in potato chips. So like, no, you're 0 for 3, girl. You're out. 3 strikes, you're out. You're done. Please go behind bars. You do not deserve to be in any administration. So enough about her. Finally. So last but not least, get to the good stuff. So Zohran Mamdani, how is he keeping the New York City mayoral election exciting and interesting? So this is my new favorite thing. So I'm not going to talk to you about videos. But, so lo and behold, this past Saturday on August 23rd, Zohran Mamdani announced in a video on his Instagram that he was hosting a citywide scavenger hunt. So I thought this was absolutely brilliant idea. And to be very on brand, they called it a scavenger hunt. Gotta love it, right? Like, keeping it very on brand, very cute. We love a good pun. Scavenger hunt. So what the scavenger hunt did, Zohran announced that from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., he will be announcing clues online, right, for any New Yorker who wants to participate to join him on the scavenger hunt around the city. Now, it wasn't just Manhattan, but they went to just about every borough, I think. So with that said, the point of the scavenger hunt was to give clues, right? That were significant, historical significance, all about New York City. So the brilliance of it was like, number one, you're getting people to get involved in a political campaign with like the lowest barrier of entry possible. He was basically like, come to this meeting location at 2:00. If you're free for 5 hours during the day, please join us. And you know who showed up? Like basically over 3,000 people showed up to participate. Zohran's campaign printed 500 cards, so you can write down, all the clues. 500 cards. Well, they maxed out because over 3,000 people came. How nuts is that? On a Sunday, talk about a Sunday fun day, right? So 3,000 people showed up, and you can see the videos of people posting about it. Like the meetup spot was like Union Square, I think, and you can see lines and lines and lines of people all over, like just crazy. All came out to support Zohran and participate in the scavenger hunt because it's a fun thing. It's such New York City vibes. Like a scavenger hunt all around the city for your Sunday. Like, I didn't participate. I had things going on, but oh my gosh, that would have been so much fun. We are entering a new era of politics and the city is ready for new leadership. And the fact that he did a scavenger hunt as part of his campaign and thousands of people showed up. Yeah, sure, it's a city of 8 million. So maybe it's not maybe 1%. It's a small percentage of the whole city. But the fact that people cared, people took time out of the day to participate in local politics. That is cool. That is brilliant. That is genius. I don't care what anyone says about Zohran. This is what we need more of in our city and our state and our country. If we can bring people together, right? Okay, so going big picture now, right? We know that Democrats and Republicans, they have their ways about them, right? Some Democrats will, fight for certain values and communicate in a certain way. Republicans have their own messaging and their own issues, right? But what it comes down to when you support one or the other, it generally boils down to which party is having more fun, right? So in 2024, it turns out a lot of people felt like Democrats were not having so much fun because, between all the social issues that were being talked about, but also, I want to say forced upon people, right? Not so much from the party as much as maybe from, the cultural left online. And it's not saying what every video it was bad out there, but it did create this culture of you need to follow along, get with the program. And I don't think a lot of people want to follow along and get with the program. So they're like, nope, I'm going with the other guy, the cats and dogs guy. So unfortunately, that's how it played out. But I will say, now that Zohran is forging a new path forward, we now know what good local politics looks like with a low barrier of entry. That's fun, exciting. And honestly, this was nonpartisan. It wasn't support me, show you come. It's no, anyone can come. You could have been a Republican, an independent, or a Democrat, right? Old, young, whatever. Families participated in this. The whole goal was to get people to engage and learn about New York City, right? It is one of the greatest cities in this country because it is rich with history and it is rich with culture. And yes, it is the wealthiest city. So when I say rich, I actually mean a lot of, not just wealthy, but I guess the point being is the history that the city has is so remarkable. And the fact that he's making history cool again, right? If you can do that in the 21st century, in our digital age, hats off to you. It's just brilliant. And that is suitable for democracy. All right, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you like what you heard and want to learn more, then make sure to subscribe to Not Suitable for Democracy on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Or you can follow along on Instagram at NSFD_pod. Thanks again so much for tuning in. And remember, democracy is not suitable without you.